better Africa and world. This remains pivotal for our definitive and outright victory. The NEC has instructed government to spare no effort in executing these priorities. We call on all our members and South Africans at home and abroad to defend our freedom and advance a better life for all. Registering to vote this weekend, 3 and 4th of February, to lay the ground for unveiling of the People's Manifesto at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban on the 24th of February 2024. The NEC was delighted to receive the news that the 2023 National Certificate Pass Rate had reached an impressive 82.9%, marking an improvement from the previous year's 80.1%. The NEC also commended the learners for their resilience and dedication to progress. The NEC also commended the teachers for their hard work in guiding the learners to achieve this result. We congratulate everybody in the Department of Basic Education, the minister, staff, and department officials across the length and breadth of our country for this ever-improving results of our matriculants. These outstanding results reaffirm the ANC's belief that the dedicated and persistent efforts made over the past 30 years are bearing fruit and paving the way for sustained progress towards achieving the Freedom Charter resolution that the doors of learning and culture shall be open to all. The NEC expressed concern regarding the ongoing rise in extreme weather events, particularly in regions such as KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, where the consequences are consistently severe, given the recent devastating floods that led to a state of disaster declaration. The NEC extended heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of those who tragically lost their lives. In urging the government to take decisive action, the National Executive Committee stressed the significance of enhanced long-term urban planning, improved land use management, a more effective disaster management system, and the ability to accurately focus and mitigate the risks. The NEC raised concerns about the sale of personal belongings that once belonged to former President Nelson Mandela, our iconic leader. We have urged the government to address broader issues surrounding the preservation of our cultural heritage as a whole, with a specific focus on the struggle for liberation. This call emphasizes the importance of safeguarding our history and ensuring that it remains accessible to future generations. To this extent, we urge government, Department of Arts and Culture, to engage with the former president's family across and engage with the purpose of finding solution to some of the issues that might be lingering on in terms of family and government relations in the preservation of President Mandela's artifacts. The ANC Electoral Committee has provided an update on the progress of candidate selection process for the upcoming 2024 national and provincial elections. According to the committee, the process is running smoothly and is expected to be completed by mid-February 2024. Once the candidate selection process is finalized, the extended NEC will convene to review and approve the final lists of candidates. The meeting of the extended NEC is scheduled in the near future, allowing sufficient time for the candidate selection process to be completed. This meeting is crucial as it will determine the final composition of the ANC's candidates lists for the national and provincial elections. In the meanwhile, the ANC has completed its consolidation of the framework on the Integrity Commission, thus paving the way for accelerated and beyond reproach implementation of processes to uphold the integrity of the organization. The National Executive Committee have received the guidelines of the ANC, which were tabled to the National Executive Committee by the Secretary-General on the step-aside rule. These guidelines were adopted by the previous National Executive Committee. They were tabled to the NEC, which NEC adopted. The NEC also adopted the terms of reference of the Integrity Committee. These terms of reference will guide the work of the Integrity Commission going forward. All reports in relation to integrity were tabled as well from the previous National Executive Committee, and the reports that are outstanding. Now, going forward, the Integrity Commission will work with ease, having terms of reference that guide the operations and functioning of the Integrity Commission. The Secretary-General will convene a meeting with the Integrity Commission to present to them the terms of reference as adopted by the National Executive Committee, as well as the affirmation of the step-aside guidelines as adopted by the National Executive Committee. We did not discuss individual cases as it is not our call. The NEC discussed cases as and when they are presented before it by the Secretary-General after the NEC have discussed the cases. So in this instance, we wish to outline that the NEC is yet to process some of the cases that have been processed recently by the Integrity Commission, but others, in terms of the new National Executive Committee, have been processed. The Zondo Commission matter has been deferred to the Disciplinary Committee. About 90 candidates, about 90 people who appeared before Zondo Commission, their cases have been handed over to the Disciplinary Committee. Tina Jumat was cleared by the Integrity Commission in this particular instance. Other outstanding matters with regard to the Integrity Commission will be dealt with as and when the matters have been finalized and presented to the SG, which the NEC will reflect on and take a decision on those matters of the Integrity Commission. In addition to the candidate selection process, all provinces are required to organize extended provincial PECs and so on. In this particular instance, most of these meetings have already taken place in most of the provinces. What the Electoral Committee is dealing with at the present moment is the processing of the matters that arise from those meetings of the extended PEC by way of intervention informed by the guidelines of the ANC's electoral process. It is worth noting that the ANC will announce the premier candidates post the election process. All hands on deck focused on the election process. The leader and the head of the ANC election campaign in the face is President Ramaphosa, and as we get into this election, it is worth noting that in the Western Cape as well, the ANC is examining the possibility of an exception in relation to that province, since the African National Congress there in the Western Cape is not in power. The National Executive Committee has taken a decision to protect the party's integrity and reputation on the matter of former President Mr. Jacob Zuma. We have followed the provisions in Rule 25 of the ANC Constitution to address the situation, as indicated in our previous media statement. We have considered the severity of the alleged violation or misconduct and the likelihood of further misconduct. The NEC is committed to upholding organizational discipline and preserving the ANC's constitutional framework. The NEC acknowledges the rise in the number of students receiving financial assistance from the National Financial Aid Scheme. However, there are concerns about the governance issues within NSFAS and how it may impact in their ability to effectively support students. We engaged with the Minister of Higher Education, Comrade Clayton Zimande, and some of the concerns that are there in terms of NSFAS and its operations and governance issues have been raised with him. The ANC is particularly concerned about the delays in student allowance payments. It is essential for NSFAS to prioritize timely payment for living expenses, transportation and accommodation for students. In order to strengthen the capacity of the state, the ANC advocates for centralized payment for all state disbursements, including those from NSFAS. This approach can benefit from the experiences of organizations like SASA and the Post Office in disbursing grants. The ANC commends the allocation of 3.8 billion towards a comprehensive student funding model that targets students, quote-unquote, from the missing middle segment. Furthermore, the ANC welcomed the allocation of 4.2 billion rand to facilitate the registration process for students, ensuring a smooth start to the academic year. To address the pressing issue of student accommodation, the state should take responsibility for the construction of suitable infrastructure by exploring human settlement models and utilizing existing resources in the public works sector. Departments can collaborate to establish state-owned accommodations. This approach is crucial as neither the market nor the private sector prioritize resolving the student accommodation crisis due to profit motives. Furthermore, it is crucial for a long-term and comprehensive higher education and training plan to account for projected increases in the number of successful matriculants in relation to available spaces in higher education institutions. The NEC noted South Africa's comprehensive victory at the International Court of Justice at the center of a shift in the global balance of forces. At this moment in time, it is not just Israel which is on the trial, but international law itself. Furthermore, we reject attempts to characterize our work as that which is a proxy for Hamas on any other nation or any other nation state. This work is consistent with our ethos to engender a better Africa and a better world. The underlying pillars of this better Africa, better world ethos is a determination to ensure that multilateral institutions apply the international rule of law-based system equally across all nations. We have equally noted attempts to elasticize the term anti-Semitism, demanding that Israel act in accordance with international law framework. Is not an attack on Jewish people, it is an invocation of law. The ANC is highly heartened by the overwhelming support for the justice for the Palestinians by ordinary people from across the world, even on countries that have been indifferent on the unfolding genocide. This massive support by ordinary people gives hope that a better world is not only possible but is within our reach as humanity. The ANC successfully hosted a conference that aimed to foster solidarity between Cuba and Africa. Cuba's involvement in the liberation movements of our nation and countries in Africa has been instrumental even today. Cuba faces repercussions for taking a strong stance against apartheid and colonialism. Through this conference, we had an opportunity to actively support Cuba and work towards ending the unjust economic blockade that has persisted for 64 years. Our relationship with Cuba has always been marked by friendship, cooperation, and unyielding solidarity. We do not know acts of terrorism insofar as Cuba is concerned. The Lekgotla deliberated also on a number of issues. One of those is basic services, local government, and infrastructure. We took a number of resolutions with a clear directive to our public representative to intensify work in relation to roll out a comprehensive program by COCTA and all other departments on the rollout of service delivery projects at the level of a different municipality. We urge government to implement the Energy Action Plan, which remains the primary basis of our response to electricity challenges. We are encouraged by a semblance of organization in fighting and doing away with load shedding. As asserted by the President, the Economic Recovery Plan and Reconstruction Plan has been rolled out by government and it is gaining momentum. The ANC welcomes government efforts to manage and ensure that blended finance are put in place and will draw on the participation of private sector in energy and water infrastructure. The department is currently rolling out major housing projects through front-loading approach. The Connect to Connect rural communities is now in full swing. The implementation of Welisizwe bridges, which have been implemented in the Free State, Northwest Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. We've got more than 90 bridges in the rural areas that have been rolled out. The ANC is determined to fast-track the resolution of both load shedding and logistics challenges and to boost production levels and volumes of exports, respectively, so that the true growth potential of the South African economy can be unleashed. Despite severe electricity and logistical challenges, which have constrained economic growth, the South African economy registered growth which demonstrated its resilience. The economy has surpassed pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels, both in terms of size and number of people employed. However, economic growth levels remain and unemployment remains high. By the end of March 2024, the MTSF that guided the sixth administration in implementing its mandate will reach its expiry. To stimulate sustainable growth in the long run, there is a need for a national industrial strategy that will form the core of our growth strategies. This will find expression in the Manifesto between now and the elections. The ANC government will accelerate the implementation, intervention to stimulate economic recovery and the creation of jobs. Industrialization is an engine for economic growth. It has been emphasized from time to time that the exporting of raw materials without beneficiation is quite detrimental in terms of the economic growth of our country. Lip service and talk is over. We need to ensure that industrialization as an intervention is implemented by our government going forward. Land and agriculture is key. the ANC government has implemented a large-scale program of land restitution and land redistribution, with about 24% of farmland in South Africa now owned by black farmers. The agricultural economy has grown strongly over the past 3 decades, creating many thousands of jobs. By December 2023, the sector employed 956,000 individuals, the highest level ever recorded since 1994. Moreover, agricultural exports increased, with exports being supplied to more than 181 countries across the world. As such, the Department of Agriculture will embark on food security drive, targeting rural areas and townships, provision of garden tools and water tanks to village and township farmers and households, mitigate the effects of load shedding on farmers through the rollout of the Agro Energy Fund. Small-scale commercial farmers qualify for 500,000, medium-scale farmers for 1 million, and large-scale commercial farmers for 1.5 million. And we've seen this taking place in provinces like the Free State on a large scale. Small business development will recognize that the economy we cannot talk about growth in the economy without emphasis on small, medium, macro enterprises. So the investment in small business is very important. We have urged government to move with speed to roll out intervention to support small businesses, and there is a detailed plan, financial plan of government to intervene in this regard, and we are encouraged by the efforts of SMME department in the rollout of this work. Mining also remains the pillar of the South African economy. Mining is the sector without which the energy transition will not be possible. In this case, mining is a sunrise industry. This means that as a country we must increase exploration, especially for critical transition minerals. Energy security remains key in terms of the implementation of our electricity security plan that has been rolled out by government. We have urged government to move with speed and support the massification of the National Youth Service Program. This year, the Department of Women, Children and People with Disabilities and the Youth will roll out a massive program of National Youth Service, working with the Departments of Defense in our country. This is a massive program which we as the ANC, we welcome, and we congratulate the department and the ministry and government in rolling out this massive project of National Youth Service Program. This will focus on the auto sector, maritime, oceans economy stream, and will focus on engineering and construction. So this is a very exciting program for young people who will be absorbed in their thousands in terms of the National Youth Service Program. We congratulate Bafana Bafana. They are continuing with their brilliance, and we look forward to them taking the battle all the way to the finishing line. And we say, go forth, Bafana Bafana, strike like an arrow. Our team have taken off from the bad start to becoming a team to be reckoned of in this competition. And we thank all South Africans, and we join them in this instance for putting their weight and believing in the team. And indeed, it is for everyone to see that the team is now moving and transitioning to becoming a bunch of winners. In this instance, we remain hopeful that our team can reach the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations. Up to this far, we are very proud of Bafana Bafana. Condolences and well wishes. Our deepest sympathies go out to the family and friends of Comrade Violet Siwela, a member of the National Executive Committee. Noli Makhanyoka, Mashao McDonald Sitabula Mante Petha, Pelwa Margaret Rakubu, Lekina Mapula, and Bongekile Mahlangu. The NEC would like to express its heartfelt condolences. During this difficult time, we understand the pain and sorrow that comes with losing loved ones, and we stand with you in your grief. May their memories bring you comfort and strength in the days ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. At this point, I'd like to invite any questions from members of the media. I thought when the SG was talking about Bafana, he was going to say Mure, Comrade SG. But thank you very much. Shall we then? I'll start with News 24 to my left. And do you have anybody on my left? Okay, it will just be News 24, and then I will move to the right. Thank you.
My first question, has the former president acknowledged receipt of the letter history? Has he responded at all? Second question is, with regards to the step-aside guidelines, are you able to summarize just quickly what has changed, step aside, and we've seen members of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal who were affected by the step aside rule coming back and campaigning. Has it changed? Is it still in effect? And also, with regards to premier candidates, you said that the president would face, you announced candidates post-election. What's the thinking behind that, and are there any concerns that it can affect how people vote, whether it will or not, just if it's going to affect the ANC support at all.
Thank you very much. I'll move on to this side of the room. Newsroom.
Thank you very much. It's Zianda from Newsroom Africa. I'd just like to know whether there was a discussion, I might have missed it, around disinformation, that the ANC received money in order to pursue that case at the International Court of Justice, and how you plan to respond to such allegations. And then just a clarity-seeking question. Now that the terms of reference of the Integrity Commission were discussed, does it mean that it's going to have enforcement powers? What exactly do you mean by what you've spoken about today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. SABC.
SABC, just Mr. Mbalula, on your communication with the former president, has he indicated whether he'll be writing back to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals to challenge his summarily suspension from the party? Then secondly, one of the issues of your coalitions, yesterday there was a vote of no confidence of the Kaunda in Itilwe municipality. Your unofficial coalition partners, the Red Berets, they decided to stab you in the back and vote with the DA. What does this say about that voting arrangement with the EFF? Will you continue working with them in Gauteng municipalities, and in particular Ekurhuleni and also City of Johannesburg, Mokale City, and other municipalities in the province? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am looking for hands from this side of the room. Okay, those will be the only questions. Over to you, SG.
Thank you very much. First, with regard to Mr. Zuma, in terms of the response, we have not checked the correspondence yet. It is possible that there is a response. It is equally possible that there may be no response at all. Whether there is a response or no, there is a response or no response, the ANC, in terms of its statute, guided by the Constitution, in terms of what it has followed in terms of the resolution of the NEC, it stands. The no response or response, the NEC will follow the Constitution to the latter. And the decision of the National Executive Committee will be enforced and will be implemented. That decision has been announced publicly, as it is partly a requirement of our Constitution. You can announce the decision publicly, you can communicate the decision by way of writing or telephonically. So all of the above have been done in terms of this matter of the suspension of former President Jacob Zuma. As step aside has not changed. We have tabled the guidelines on step aside as adopted by the previous NEC, and they are upheld by the current NEC as the guidelines that guide us on the step aside rule. Members of the ANC who are on the step aside and are doing work for the ANC in different forms and across the country and all of that, it is upon them, and at the same time working with the structures to avail themselves to do the work of the organization. But in this particular instance, the guidelines and at the same time the step-aside rule is what is guiding us in relation to this particular matter. And there are many of ANC members who are on the step-aside who have just been disciplined and going on with their business, and whenever they are called upon to assist, some of them have been there to actually do the work. It is across the country, not only in KZN, but they have not done anything that seeks to undermine the rule itself. We are operationalizing step-aside rule of the ANC for a year now or two thus far. So we learn also from experience. And the NEC reflected briefly on this in the NEC. So going forward, implementing the rule guided by the guidelines on this matter will continuously evaluate. Because even step aside as it is, some of the things that have been reflected upon is that if you don't have a position, what happens to you? Because step aside means step aside only from those who've got positions. If you are a minister, for instance, you are implicated, you step aside. But if you don't have a position, you are an ordinary member. So what does step aside mean for you? So these are some of the things as we strengthen ourselves as a party in relation to matters of integrity and ethical conduct. We are examining as we implement this particular rule. So these are some of the things that the NEC have flagged, and we will continuously reflect on and deal with as we move forward. Premiers are not announced by the president. It's a decision of the ANC. The ANC have taken a decision, with the exception of Western Cape. We will announce premiers after the election. We don't attach significance to personalities. We've got premiers now. We are the incumbent. Our premiers are there and they are doing a good job. So if you want to judge the performance of the ANC, we are not like a party that has resurfaced 2 weeks ago, that want to establish itself in society by announcing premiers. We have had premiers for the past 30 years or so in government. And even now as we speak, here in Gauteng, we've got one of the best premiers in the country. So if you want to challenge us, you will challenge our premier here. So you will have to announce your own candidate. So the ANC is an incumbent. It is the ANC that is challenged in its incumbency by political parties, small and big, and they announce their premier candidates. But our approach as a party is that premiers are premiers of the ANC. And as a result, we don't attach significance to the personalities in this instance, as much as personalities play a role, but to us, it is the party that leads. And the president of the ANC is the face of that campaign. So that's why you will not find a poster of a premier in Gauteng, a poster of a premier in KwaZulu-Natal and everywhere else. You have one poster of President Ramaphosa. So thank you for the question nonetheless. So we attach exceptionalism to Western Cape because there we don't have premier. We are not in power and we are challenging the DA. So perhaps there we may want to deal with the issue as the NEC guided with the premiership before the election itself, because it is Alan Winder and the DA, and they want to change Cape Town to become a country. So it is very important that we need to challenge the DA in the Western Cape. So we are looking at that, and very soon, once those discussions are finalized in terms of the ANC, we may want to announce a premier candidate for the Western Cape. Newsroom. There are many rumors about, and if we were to entertain rumors that are malicious, and some of them is the work of what we call as the ANC counter-revolution. So when somebody wake up in this country and say Lady R supplied arms to Russia, it's a rumor. Government goes and investigate that, and others say, why do you investigate? Because this clearly is not true. Given the stature of Russia as a country and its armaments prowess, it is unimaginable that South Africa could be supplying arms to a country like that. Actually, we can only be accused of supplying arms to Ukraine, which is a smaller country in this particular instance. But we're accused of supplying arms to Russia. Given our work and subtle diplomacy and our foreign policy, we had to take steps with regard to that. You can see clearly that, and there was no truth at the end with regard to Lady R. There was a judge appointed. It was just a rumor and a malicious rumor that was just painting South Africa badly, and by an ambassador. Now, here is a rumor, faceless, coming from the media, circles, left and right, asking questions. If there is a country or a diplomat or anybody who accuses us of having received money from Iran, who is that person today? We will expect such accusations to come from the Zionist state of Israel, because they are hurt by the stance we have taken, which is a stance in solidarity with the Palestinians and calling on them to stop the genocide. So they vow to do everything in their power to vandalize, maim, and at the same time deal with the South African government. Through the rabbis, very backward people, fascist sentiment has emerged from those cycles. But it is not clear where does this come from and how. You know, it's a cut and paste. Because of this has happened, and then this has happened. It is amazing how journalists are prepared to go at length to publish the rumors that have got no face or have got no standing of an organization behind the rumors like that. Just a cut and paste, and all of that. And then it is put to the fourth. It becomes news. that the ANC got money here and there and all of that. So it remains a rumor which has got no basis. The ANC stance does not start today. You all know about it. In fact, the ANC, if it did not take the stance it has taken, we should be accused as this leadership under Ramaphosa today as a sellout leadership of the ANC, which have sold on the Palestinian people and their cause because of where we come from. Before Nelson Mandela, we can quote Oliver Tambo, we can quote Albert Lutuli on the Palestinian question. You know, ANC has been very consistent because it's a reflection of our ethos, who we are. When we talk about internationalism, what do we stand for? In fact, it's an insult for anybody to think that the ANC is bored to espouse a particular decision. Bravely so. Now, this is a manifestation of counter-revolution because it comes faceless through the media. Then the media becomes the spokesperson of counter-revolution, faceless rumor like that there is this and so on. At least with the Lady R, there was a face of a man with a bow tie who made an allegation and jeopardized and brought his state to disrepute. The fact that he's still in our country is unbelievable. That how arrogant other states can be. That an ambassador in a particular country can make terrible accusations to a sovereign state, and there are no consequences for that. And there is no report that says anything till today. American public representatives, and it's not the first time. I remember when I was Minister of Sports, another one said we bought the World Cup. And they could not prove it till today that we bought the World Cup. I was a minister. They said we bought the World Cup because somebody who died said so. And then that's it. It ended there. And then today we were asked about the rumor. Is it true that the ANC got? You attach the face. You say, so and so from this part is saying the ANC got money and this is how we got money. And money exchanged hands between so and so. And then that's it. So we won't go to Iran these days because we're going to fetch money. According to these rumors, you know, we have been open, we declare to the IEC the money we get. Other political parties don't declare. The smallest political parties, you know, this morning I went to Krugersdorp. I drove to Krugersdorp from downtown Johannesburg, back and forth to Krugersdorp. I saw the posters of Rise Mzansi. They beat us on the postering, ourselves, EFF and DA. Hey, these people have got money. And they get the biggest share of interviews on radio news. These people have never been into power. They are not in power. They are not in parliament. So who should enjoy the biggest share of publicity? Because they've proven they've got constituency. Steenhuisen has got constituency with his madness and all of that, and the things that he says that are unthinkable and racist. But he represents that constituency. Malema has got a constituency. I've got a constituency. You are not shocked when you see me having to enjoy as a party that is in power, that leads, and all of that. But these other parties, yes, it's a democratic dispensation. Where did they prove themselves? It's a discourse. It's a debate on its own. You don't ask them where they get the money. They don't declare to anybody. Proliferation of political parties in our country sponsored by certain interests out of the country, including with interest of driving regime change in the country. You never ask the question, where do they get the money from? Nothing wrong, but why don't you ask, where do they get the money from? They are fleshy. They do things, that are done by political parties that have been in power for some time. But when the EFF had the rally in FNB, there were big questions about where did they get the money from, how much did it cost. When the ANC have a rally, you never ask the DA. Never. You have never asked where do they get the money from. They declare they get the money. We declare. We and the DA, we declare. But this question is only reserved for the ANC. And not even legit, but based on rumors, falsehood, and lies. Simply because we have taken a stand that a particular state in the Middle East that is killing people, because of their prowess in terms of artificial intelligence and all of that, now a lie is spread all over the country about ANC and its government. How do you buy a government like our government to take a stance like that? How do you buy? It's an insult to the people of this country and its leadership. So I don't want even to dignify this thing with veracity of whether it is true or not. Clearly it is a fabricated story to interpret a particular line and define and undermine our position, which is principled and which has been there over years, as nothing else but a position of people who have sold their souls elsewhere in the world. And we are on the side of justice. More than 16 people in a court, international, agree with us. Individuals, one state says no, we are wrong. We went there, argued our case, and our judges, independent, agreed with us. Here in South Africa, what did the media say? South Africa will lose. And I saw them deleting tweets after the judgment. Peter Bruce was the first, deleting tweets. They are weak. Because everything that is done in this government must be slotted in the context of an election campaign to undermine the ANC. They will never win against ICJ. We knew that we go into ICJ, we can win or lose. But the morality of the story was that we are on the side of people as we speak now have been killed. And there is a genocide going on. We are arguing that case in the international court. We are arguing that case, not anywhere else through rhetoric or anything. We are arguing that case with facts in the international court. And we knew that whether we lose or we win, the moral of the story is that Palestine must be free. That's the fundamental issue to us. Palestine must be free. We cannot go on with our business as the world. We in South Africa, we are happy, we are free from apartheid, yet there are people oppressed by Morocco in Western Sahara, and there are people oppressed by Israel in Palestine. And then we say we live in a world where everybody must just look away and then forget what is happening there. Nobody forgot us when we were oppressed. Nobody asked how many years will it take for apartheid to be defeated. People were determined to say no to apartheid, free South Africa. And we stand there as South Africa today. The terms of reference are there in terms of the Integrity Commission. The terms of reference guide the Integrity Commission so that the Integrity Commission is a committee of the National Executive Committee. Once it is done with its work and recommendations, it reports to the SG, the SG then reports to the NEC, the work of the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission is informed by the terms of reference on the decisions that they take on the merit of each case. So the National Executive Committee finalized the terms of reference. Samkele, on the Zuma response, I've responded adequately on that. Whether there is a response or no response, the Constitution stands and the decision stands. Already, I think you have already read the response from President Zuma in one rally in eThekwini. You have already responded, but in Zulu. So I can forward it to you. I will forward it to you. And he was making examples there that, but to the effect that he will not accept to be taken out of the house he's fighting in the way he is fighting. So politically, we agree with that. We don't agree with that stance. He has transgressed, and we're taking him on. So we are subjecting matters to that particular process. The EFF stepped us at the EFF is not our ally, in a sense, in all these coalitions. We have taken a decision in relation to the EFF and the coalitions we have with them. We are looking at those decisions. We will convene a special meeting probably next week virtually so that I prepare you. There will be a virtual meeting which we will finalize our work on coalitions and so on. And we'll give a report publicly with regard to that. Obviously, the EFF stance in terms of coalitions and the ANC it's a very dangerous one. It's very dangerous because it is the ANC that seems to be begging with the cap in the hand to the EFF in these coalitions. There's no principle, there is no honesty, there is no loyalty in terms of this agreement. So EFF is what is called the kingmaker. They can agree with you today, they can work with the DA and everybody else against the ANC and so on, based on whatever grievance. So if you are coalition partners, you have to ventilate issues in a meeting and talk about issues and your displeasure. You don't decide that tomorrow because that affects service delivery. But overall, we have said as the ANC that these coalitions have not worked for the people of South Africa. Coalitions is an outcome of a democratic process, the elections, meaning that people have not come out in their numbers, low voter turnout, you produce coalitions. Meaning, there is no winner takes all. It doesn't work. Commit a party to power so that that party can be accountable. In this particular instance, you see potholes in Johannesburg. When I came from Krugersdorp in this trip, they are now vandalizing the graves here in Johannesburg. And then I asked, where is the municipality? Here in Johannesburg. The robots, because there is load shedding, are controlled by these chaps who sleep in the street, our brothers there. And they control robots, they are not trained. They control the movement of cars. It was good camaraderie at the beginning, but now it really showcases a state that is in a state of disaster and collapse. Johannesburg was never like that. There was a cooperation between the private sector, JMPD. They were working very well. Whenever the robots collapse, there will be that company, I don't want to mention by name, insurance company. They are doing professional, splendid job in terms of controlling the traffic, especially in the afternoon when there was no. Now, a local government where you assist with the matter of coalitions and you are a local government that is faced with a larger congestion of cars on the roads, you obviously have got to plan for that. You've got to plan for that. When the robots are off, you have to control traffic. Now, it doesn't happen. Now, our brothers who are here in the streets and all of that, it has been left to them. You know, those are signs of ungovernability. You just accept something that is wrong, that let it be done. Nobody planned it. You stop there, you give them money for coke and drink, they get something, they control traffic. Government of Johannesburg has just collapsed. It leaves something like that to chance, and then it is normal. You get to normalize that. That's coalitions. Who are you going to blame? they will say it's the EFF ANC coalition. But the ANC in this coalition doesn't control anything. We don't have a mayor. The only thing we control here is the disbursement of funds and money. But the transport here is controlled by the EFF, by the PA. And then other things are controlled by the EFF. I see the EFF MMC from time to time. He tries his best. I see him most of the time. He even argues with Panyaza last time here across the street. Panyaza arrived even before them. They are sleeping on the job. The mayor had to be awakened. You don't know where was he sleeping. Here he come. The buildings are falling apart. Panyaza had to come. They had to fight with Panyaza. Why did you arrive there before us? Local government. They are fighting with the premier. No. They started to argue. Whose terrain is this? People are dying here. What if the MMC has gone on holidays and so on? So Panya arrived with these people there and all of that, which is what public representatives must do. But we are running Johannesburg. Johannesburg is the city in Africa, and then it just collapses like that. Roads, we used to have a roads agency here in Johannesburg. Very effective. They are very effective. What happened to those? There is a problem. Coalitions, how they operate. And what brings the state of collapse of municipalities is because when you change the mayor comes with his people. The administration changes. It's not insulated from running the city. Yet in other municipalities, whether the political administration goes, the public servants remain unchanged. Here in Johannesburg, if the mayor tomorrow becomes Mbalula comes with his people, the MMCs come with their own HODs, with new ideas, in a coalition. It's instability. Coalitions are not working for us. And that is why we can't blame it on anybody but ourselves, which is why we work for outright majority in this country. This thing upapata all the time doesn't work in governance, because you've got to be there, given a chance and lead, so that we can hold you accountable. So here now, the situation is different because everybody has got a say. And then all of them hide behind the ANC when it is convenient. Because people on the ground, they don't know these political parties. They know the ANC. I can take you to Soweto, to Diepsloot. They don't even know who's the mayor of Joburg. I can take you there. They blame the ANC. No, the ANC ka Ramaphosa. Ingasnikeza ama potholes. Uyabona. Ile ANC ka Ramaphosa yenza kanje kanje. Hayi, local government, they don't understand. They know they are ANC. And they decide right there and there that I'm not going to vote because the ANC is not delivering. But the ANC is not in power in Joburg. We lost power 10 years ago. Johannesburg and Pretoria and Ekurhuleni. We lost power there. And Nelson Mandela. They fall, those municipalities are in the hands of the opposition. And you can compare between us when we were there and them when they are in charge, like Pretoria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SG. I do believe that the responses were comprehensive. I'm very keen to close the presser. I will have one last round and ask that colleagues keep the questions as succinct as possible. Over to you, my brother.
I just wanted to find out, because the President, during the course of the week, alluded to a possible regime change due to the ICJ stance that South Africa has taken. And there has been reports possibly that economically South Africa might be sabotaged by the West in terms of the stance as well. Has the ANC discussed something like that and how to counter the language?
Thank you very much. I've got you there, my sister.
There was Mandela from the Citizen News. The ANC threatened to take the MK party to court for trademark infringement. So I just wanted to find out from Mr. Mbalula, what is the status regarding that? And also, what is the status about the legal action against former Eskom CEO Andre Director?
All right, thank you very much. I will then come to the front. This is newsroom.
From newsroom. SG, you are referring to SASA that the likes of NSFAS could learn from SASA and post office in how they disperse grants. What is it particularly that you think these two are doing exceptionally well? Because the experience has been that they've been limping from one disaster to another in terms of payments of grants. So what is it that you think they can teach the other government institutions? And secondly, how did the ANC come to this conclusion that if you were to be voted out of power in the upcoming elections, that things would turn worse for South Africans? If you can just refer to practical things, I have heard the president saying grants could possibly be taken away. Just give an idea of the worst that you think could happen, and what is it that you are going to do in the 5 years that's starting now in 2024 that could not be realized in 3 decades?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That will be the last question. Over to you, SG.
Some of the things is an account of what we may characterize as political polemic. It doesn't have to be gauged by facts. It's what we call political analysis. You either agree with it or you don't. The political analysis, what we have seen in the African continent, in the experience of political parties and the revolutions that have been undertaken, that those who are on the opposite side undertake steps, including using their powers economically and otherwise to effect regime change. The fact that Cuba today is subjected to economic blockade because of their beliefs is one significant example of what superpower mentality actually is, and what in ideological terms economic dominance of a particular superpower by usurping powers and rights of nation states' sovereignty is clearly demonstrable in terms of the experience of Cuba and what has happened in Africa, Latin America, and all of that. So regime change necessarily doesn't happen in a classical way of people being outvoted out of power. It is effected in different ways, and the manifestation of that differs from one country to the other. In our country, we have seen the proliferation of smaller political parties and the support that they get internationally, financially so, the muscle that they get, but also those that we fight against have sort of tried to muzzle South Africa economically and threatened our sovereign independence economically. And in this particular instance, you would have seen those instances. AGOA was one such, that I've got this that works for you, and I will use it against you if you don't take this particular stance. So you are being muzzled. And if not, if you don't toe the line, then we will support and will even support those who are eager to oppose you, to deal with you. So the question of the ANC majoritarian in South Africa has been a sore point to those who differ with us and who are countering the ANC in South Africa. The ANC which lead the African Revolution, the ANC which is the liberation movement. And those who are opposed to us have always made it clear that they likened the ANC to an elephant, that it is an elephant that must be eaten piece by piece. So they don't come with a clear message that we are here for regime change, but they come in different manifestations. So we've seen that. It has happened. It has gained momentum at the present moment. So the regime change notion the president talked about manifests itself in that context. You take a stand to support the Palestinian, you go further, you do all things necessary. What do Israeli state say? They have just removed our flag in the center of Tel Aviv, somewhere in Israel. Removed the flag of South Africa. What are their leadership espousing? We will show you. We will use our economic power, our investment, the power that we've got over South Africa. Will show you who we are. In that context, the writer says South Africa must not follow suit the example of other countries that have failed with their dogmatic stance they've taken on international and global affairs. He doesn't say what are those global affairs. We know it is Russia, Ukraine, now it is Palestine. Who says that? Is the writer, a CEO with ideology and politics, a man who have brought us load shedding and left us and said that we're still in Soviet Union and there is a ghost here in this building. And so he left, and then he resigned, and then he left us with a disaster called load shedding. And that man now is speaking politics from the United States of America as we speak, and he says he's giving us this advice that he's giving us. But if you analyze deeper, those are liberal, neoliberal politics, because liberalism counterpose it with neoliberalism. These are two things that run in tandem but differ in terms of emphasis. But those are neoliberal politics that says that the world outlook and what the state must do, it must do the following, which we don't agree with some of the things that they espouse. So if you don't toe the line, you're going to be challenged, and there's going to be an enforcement of regime change. We have seen it happening right next door in Zimbabwe, and when we speak about it, we are being attacked about it, that ANC, why you support ZANU-PF and all of that, and so on. Now, it is happening here in South Africa and so on. So what the president simply said, he said that our stance we have taken have earned and invited powerful enemies against us, who will then take a path of effecting regime change in our country. So we see that at the present moment. We see it. It is manifesting itself in different ways, and then you yourself, you know, it is actually there. Sabotage. The developments are fluid. They are not static in terms of this country. You see, they change all the time. So, but they are going one direction in terms of what must happen in South Africa today from those who have felt the wrath of South Africa. So, what do we say? If fascists feel what we do, then we know we are on the right path of history. That's what we say. If fascism says to us that it feels bad about the things that we do, even with their power, whatever they can do, we know that we are on the right path of history. What we are not prepared to do is to forsake and look away for whatever reason and abandon the Palestinians. Nobody did that to us. Not even with money. The world stood with us. We are not about to be a case of a liberated South Africa that sold out on a cause of justice for others. That will not be us. That will not be the ANC. Then we must close shop. We are something else that cannot be explained by anybody. And we are not prepared, and we are not about to go through that path. A citizen, ANC threatened. We don't threaten. we defend what belongs to the ANC. If Zuma formed a political party and call it Jacob Zuma Foundation and transform it into a political party, we've got nothing to do with that, with his own colors. But what Jacob Zuma has done, he has stolen the ANC trademark. He has stolen the politics of the ANC. He has stolen the membership of the ANC and project himself as a revolutionary, pseudo-revolutionary, and of which there is no revolution pursued by Zuma. Is a classical example of counter-revolution. And anyone who believes in him, he's got supporters. Yes, he does. Don't undermine it. They believe that he's on the right path, but there's no revolution led by Zuma. Zuma has done something that has never been done by anybody. We have never dealt with a president like Zuma in the life of the ANC. We have never dealt with somebody like him at the helm of the ANC and our liberation struggle. So we may commit mistakes in how we deal with him, but we will learn a lot. And out of Zuma's experience, revolutionaries will be born. And others will learn that to follow him was suicidal for South African revolution. How do you go to people and promise them a 2/3 majority, which you will never achieve? He knows. Politically. He is basically dealing with people like as if they attend a charismatic church that tells people eat snakes, and then they comply. He goes to the people, public platform, and say, we are going to get 2/3 majority. He is not telling them the truth. Why he did what he did, why he decided to be uncharacteristic as a leader, veteran of the ANC. He is doing that for his self-interest, because Zuma is not happy about how things were handled around him, but equally he has never agreed with the leadership that endorses renewal, and that renewal has eaten from his adventurism of doing things in a way he was doing things in the revolution. So he has never endorsed that. He will never like Ramaphosa, because Ramaphosa talks renewal, and that renewal says it cannot be business as usual. Now, under Zuma, people with wrong and questionable characters flourished under him. And those people, you will see them there next to him. You will count them by names, by surname, by streets, by domicile, Sitan, where they stay. You will see them. And when you go deeper and analyze them, you will see them as beneficiaries of things that did not increase the hegemony and the integrity of the African National Congress. Today we are called a party with names and many other things because of wayward behavior of President Zuma single-handedly, without even the party doing things in the way he did them. So we don't expect that anything different. So he has taken all of these things from us, and then now he calls that a party. We knew that he's going to announce a party. We did not believe it, but we then saw it on the 16th, that this thing is the truth. He went to the graves of comrades of MK in Orlando, and then went there with wreath and laid wreath there. And he didn't tell the people the whole truth, why he's doing what he's doing. He said that no resolutions are not being implemented, the ANC has actually changed, and all of that, and then full stop, he ended there. So there's nothing that he said and did beyond what he actually did on the 16th. So he took our name, he took Umkhonto weSizwe and left with it. So we are challenging our heritage. Just like when COPE was formed, we lost in the courts, but we challenged. Congress of the People was there. The architecture of the Congress of the People was the ANC, and which culminated in 1955 with the adoption of the Freedom Charter. The progressive ideals of how South Africa should look like When we say better life for all, it means the full cycle realization of the Freedom Charter. The reason we're still talking better life is because that Freedom Charter is still being implemented. So, 1955, COPE was formed. Terra and them, they then called it an organization. We went to court to challenge them, we lost. Zuma, we went to the Electoral Commission, and then they gave Zuma, he lost, and then they then gave him a certificate of a political party, not him, Kuma. And then even that part in terms of the street and name is the ANC office in Durban. And now they formed this party. So we're challenging that, and we've been challenging it. Where are we now? I've briefed you. You don't attend press conferences. If you don't, just check your WhatsApp group, you see, so that you see what we said. But let me explain to you again, citizen. We said that we have challenged Jacob Zuma on two fronts. One is the patent, meaning MK, Umkhonto Wesizwe, is our trademark as the ANC. Everybody knows that. And then secondly, we are challenging the deregistration. We are saying MK must be deregistered. We are taking that matter to the Electoral Court. It is at the Electoral Court. We have filed papers, heads of arguments have been filed. So we are in court now, as we speak. So we expect the court to give us further direction on the matter. So that's where we are. The one on the trademark will follow maybe around March. Okay? This one is urgent because that Umkhonto Wesizwe is our colors, is our logo, is our slogans, is everything. So it is meant to confuse the voter. There is a political party that benefits out of ANC colors every year. They don't even campaign, but I don't want to mention them by name. But you are guaranteed in parliament they will have 2 seats, 3 seats. What now about a party that calls itself Umkhonto Wesizwe? That's a daylight robbery and looting of ANC assets. So we're not going to allow that. We don't agree with Mr. Zuma's politics, and we have made it very clear. And we will deepen the understanding of ANC membership about those politics. But we are not going to make Zuma the ANC election manifesto. We are the incumbent. We've got the responsibility to account to the people. But for the irritation that he is, and the short memory that he has basically become, he's got a short memory now. He forgets everything. He blames it on us and everything. We're going to remind him. But we have taken a stance already. So we don't want to make it, because some of these things are done deliberately, so that we forget and then we focus on Jacob Zuma. Has said many things, some things which he said when he was still here in the ANC. At least we had an obligation to call him to order. Now he's saying them openly, which some of them don't bother on anything but on tribalism, chauvinism, and openly attacking sex marriages, openly, without fear. Things he would have never said when he was still here in the ANC, because he knows the ANC does not discriminate. Now he's got the license, and he's still going to say those things, and they are horrible. Don't be shocked. So, coming from a Democrat and a person who was prepared by the ANC for years to become what he is. So we're going to be focused on our task. The Reiter case is still continuing. We gave him the papers in Germany. He shifted, he's now in the US. He's nomadic, he's living an international nomadic life. So when we catch him here, he moves to another direction. But as soon as he touches in South Africa, we will deal with him equally, with the same, determination to get him to account and so on. The Pretoria High Court agreed with us and gave us a citation to serve the raider with papers, which is what we have done. He was in Germany, he left Germany, he's in Harvard, somewhere there in America, that's where he is. Whenever he comments and conduct parliamentary engagements with the Portfolio Committee or SOPA, he's doing them virtually outside the country. So we will deal with that. Lastly, the questions about SASSA is the best government institution in terms of disbursement. The fact that they might be faced with challenges from time to time, dead people in the system, is challenges that they face and they work very hard to overcome. But it's the best. SASSA was formed after a total disaster of disbursement of social grants, and they've done a perfect job. What happens now with the disbursement of student financial aid? It has been outsourced. It stays with people who've got no soul to understand that these kids, when they pass, they are going to register, they are recognized by institutions, they must get money to register. Somebody there is given a task, he's won a tender, whatever, it is outsourced, and so on. So we must build the capacity of the state. And that is why we say we've got SASSA. We could distribute more than 11,350,000 in this country and work backwards to realize that some of them, they are getting double pay because they are also on the other grants of the state. So that is why the number have reduced from 11 to 7 million, because some of them are also getting employed. So the system managed to catch them. But within a period of about 4 weeks, the system was up and running. The capability of the state was put to test. And that is what we talk about when we talk about a capable state. A capable state must not have problems to disburse student financial aid bursaries to students. Every year, we are now giving 3.5 billion, 4.5 billion, but students are protesting. We are one of the few countries that give so much to free education in terms of the state. The students are not protesting about the fact that I did not get, I got it, but it does not reach me. That's what is the problem. So we say, secondly, student accommodation. Why is this thing in the private hands? Why is the state not building student accommodation all around? Why? Forever and ever. So these are the suggestions we have put in the bucket of the minister to consider, and so on. So the difference with this is that you can have challenges of people in the system, but the capacity of the state to disburse social grants has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that it is working. It is working. It is possible that as a student you can have a SASSA card for your financial aid, like people have got a grant and all of that. And then that's it. When you were a student and you were still at TEFSA, I'm sure when you product your TEFSA, when jail. So you will know when you pass there and then you get employment. They don't even phone you. The company tells you there where you are working newsroom, they've deducted 15% from your salary. It's TEFSA because you owe the university. Was it not like that? So why do we change the good things? Where did it change and when? So capability of the state is being challenged here. So we need to address that because it's a problem for us. As the ANC, we are affected as a ruling party that we've got students who come here at office, they have passed, they've registered, but they don't have money. They don't have accommodation. So that's the problem, and yet there is money in the system. The money, where is it? In outsourced companies. Mbalula and his company with his short trousers is owning a company there, and then is not disbursing the money to the university and all of that. So the capabilities there are a problem. That must be addressed. Now, when government tried to address what happened in Wusu, with that 14 million which was chowed within a week by a student, then they globalize the problem. In response to that, even those who don't have a problem, they then make this a problem. Because that was a problem. 14 million gone by mistake into the system. So, as much as there is a challenge, there is an opportunity again. That's what we are saying. There is an opportunity to intervene decisively and centralize things and show the capability and the capacity of the state to address these challenges of NSFAS. What is worse that will happen if ANC loses? Now you want a discussion one-on-one on the manifesto at the press conference. I will take you till 4 o'clock this afternoon. We are launching the manifesto on the 24th. And then you have analyzed manifestos of political parties and you have heard them. DA launched their manifesto, I think, last year. You have even forgotten. I don't know what they are going to launch now. They are going to call it Manifesto or something. And then you must go and read there what they say. And Manifesto or something. And then you must go and read there what they say. And Tony Leon, their godfather. You must go and read what they say, not what the ANC says. And we refer to that. These are the people who want to remove the ANC. Read what they say. Remember, our manifesto is not something that will be based on fiction. Our manifesto is going to be based on, we have done the following things as the incumbent, and we know now we have failed because of this. What needs to be done to fulfill what we need to do? The other day, the president talked about the raw materials. We've been talking beneficiation. We cannot afford to talk theory when we have learned from experience what needs to be done. Our economy needs decisive intervention in terms of industrialization. What do we need to do? We produce raw materials, and then we need to produce and create factories in our country where we export finished products. In that way, we create jobs for our people inside South Africa. That's what our economy requires. Jobs. So that's what we're going to do. So our manifesto speaks to that, not about others. For others, it's a point of reference to say, this is what they say they are going to do when they come into power. So it's not fiction that we have made up a story and threatened people. No, we don't. People believe in the ANC. And they keep on telling us what needs to be done by the ANC to get things right and all of that. As and when we deliver, we do things, people are happy. People are not going to say to us, hey, Zuma, ANC. They are going to tell us exactly what are their problems on the ground about the ANC. If the ANC does not get service delivery right, does not fix load shedding for years to come, so that we can even take it out of Jacob Zuma's mouth, because he says that he fixed load shedding. And we will explain, and as you know, that he did not fix it. He did not fix it. If he fixed it, then what made it to change? And he says all sorts of things there, and all of that. All of those things we know have led us to what is called state capture. It is now written and proven by a judicial commission of inquiry that there was a state capture in the country. It's closed. No longer theory that this thing happened or did not happen. It's proven. It is there. Dotted lines. And somebody even got, we had challenges around that. So some of these things will be discussed as we launch on the 24th, before and after. And your questions can come. We will be able to illustrate like we did with the review. With the review, as I conclude, Matleng, I saw somebody who said the ANC was challenging the notion that something has been done and so on. And then and in that attack, it distorted the manifesto review, which has proven that by that time when we launched the Manifesto Review, October or November, September last year, when we launched, we were like 70% of the commitments we made in the manifesto were met. And we have surpassed that number now. We'll be able to prove that to you. And we've given that account. Nobody challenged us. We were able to prove that the things we said we will do in the last manifesto, we have done them. 70%, we're at 70%. I can tell you right now, we're at 90. Left with few stubborn that are still remaining. Amidst COVID, unrest, and all of the things that we are dealing with, state capture, we have been able in the last 5 years to meet these obligations. So our manifesto is not going to be empty. It's going to be a reflection of the recent past and the past 30 years together. What is it that we have actually done? So we are prepared to have a longer discussion with you on that when we launch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. This then brings us to the end of this press briefing. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.